check, mic check. Welcome to another episode of the Second Half Podcast. I'm your host, Jabari Saunders, and we are back with another great episode. Before you get started, be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Please share on all social media. At this time, we got a great friend of mine, a former coworker of mine. As our next guest, he's a former college basketball player. He was a Nike business lead for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I love saying his last name. He's the NBA exec who happened to just find some jewelry laying around and win a world champion for the Milwaukee Bucks. He's a great husband, a great father. He's currently founder and CEO of Sports Business Ventures, none other than my man, Brian Davison. My man, welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the great intro. I'm glad to be here.
No, it's a long time coming. Somebody who I truly admire, especially at our days working together at Nike, on the Jordan side and all that fun jazz, just being a part of the sports industry at large. You had so much great insight, so I had to get you on. Like, you were definitely one that was like, yep, he's definitely going to be on here for sure.
I appreciate that. You've done some amazing things in your career, so it's an honor to be here.
My man. All right, so let's start from the beginning, man. Where are you from? Where did the journey of Brian begin?
Yeah. So I grew up in Annapolis, Maryland. Navy family. My dad went to the Naval Academy, graduated from there. He's still part of the Department of Defense today.
Okay.
My mom was a school teacher, and my twin sister and I grew up there our whole lives, and spent a lot of time on the East Coast, and grew up loving sports, like on and love with basketball and football. Soccer at a really early age. Today was had a pretty amazing childhood there in Maryland.
Yeah. I did not know that you were a twin, which is also another fun fact. So, of course, like you said, you already started there. It's like growing up, and I'm assuming you guys were pretty competitive with each other, and especially when it came to sports as well.
Yeah, we were. My sister Jen was a great athlete herself, so she played 3 sports in high school like I did.
Okay.
She was a Division I college cross player, had a couple of Division I basketball offers as well. And so we grew up playing together. She was one of the only girls on the guys' team all the way up until middle school at the time or so. And so she really cut her teeth into sports by playing with me and my friends every day, right?
Yeah.
And so she had her own capacity on the field because of growing up with us. And so it was a fun, competitive environment, and it was really a place for us to really bond together, but also learn about each other and how we help each other out as athletes.
Love it. Love that. Love that bond between you and your sister.
Yeah.
Not many people talk about playing multi-sports anymore, right? I feel like we're in a day and age that, people only playing, one sport and really investing themselves into that one. When you were coming up, what 3 sports were you really, involved in?
Yeah, so it started off as soccer, basketball, and baseball. Around middle school time, one of my friends introduced me to lacrosse, and I fell in love with it right away. That led to a really successful career for me in high school, uh, playing for one of the best teams in the state at South River High School, and then being recruited by a lot of Division I schools to play lacrosse. Related to me, playing multiple sports throughout my childhood really provided me the understanding the dynamics of athletics, right? Where you could utilize those skill sets and even moves and intricacies of those games on different fields, right? And so a lot of the basketball moves a lot of lacrosse moves that are made come from basketball, right? And vice versa. And so really, you look at the game of basketball and William J. Smith, who created it. A lot of that was to create that environment inside during the cold winter months for soccer and lacrosse players. And so that's where you see a lot of the crossover of those skill sets and those moves and the dynamic understanding of the game. So to me, it was a great piece of my character building, and also at the same time helped me, I think, out on the field in a lot of ways.
No, I love that. There's a lot of correlation with other sports that I feel like people are missing out on, right? Even when I was coming up playing soccer, and I think even I got wind of Jason Tatum as another one who played soccer growing up, right? Great for footwork, any sport, you know what I mean? So, like you said, lacrosse, you're using a lot of the same moves, spin moves, drop steps,
Yeah,
change of direction, pace of speed, all those things. So I'm sure that helped you develop into your game of basketball, like you said, to help build you in that space.
it did. It did. I always told people the best training for basketball was me playing soccer the season before. I mean, I could run for days.
I know you're
And
already in shape.
yeah, I was already in shape. I walked in, didn't have to do any. I shouldn't have had to do any sprints, but of course we did. But when you run for 90 minutes straight in soccer, and you're running those long distances, you're really prepared for those other sports. So whether it's endurance or those movements that you spoke on. And I think the other thing cool that I learned too was the cultural differences of the sports, right?
Yeah.
And the people and personalities were different. And
Yeah.
so my teammates with soccer or basketball or lacrosse were significantly unique. And so it helped me understand people and the diversity of people's thoughts and really just being able to meet and understand people from a different perspective because you are meeting a different locker room every time you walk into a different sport. There's just different
Yeah.
cultural settings and even the ways you go about being a teammate, right? Or you being
No,
different. So to me, it made me a much more well-rounded from a people person perspective as well.
no, love that. So you find yourself playing basketball, inclusive of those sports. Who was the one to put the ball in your hands and said, "Hey, I need you over here on court"?
So really, it was probably my mom. She
Okay.
was a basketball player growing up, and
Okay.
her family basketball was pretty deep. So her father played at Penn State University, and then coached in college and then in high school for about 55 years. And
Nice.
so he's in the basketball Philadelphia, sorry, high school Hall of Fame as a coach there. And then my uncles played at Villanova and had the Naval Academy. And
Oh,
so,
nice.
so they, basketball runs pretty deep. One of my cousins played college basketball as well. And the other ones were college athletes as well from my mother's side. So really athletics was strong on that side of the family. And so when my grandfather used to visit in Philadelphia or we used to visit him, he was always giving me tips and tricks on how to play and how to see the court and how to shoot. And
There you
so
go.
very early age, I was being taught basketball was really ingrained into our family, and it was something that I picked up on quick. And I grew up in the day and age of MJ, David Robinson, Charles
Yeah.
Barkley, and those guys, and I just fell in love with the game and the culture of basketball at a really early age.
Yeah.
My first signature shoe that I had in elementary school was the CD34s.
Okay. Gotta have the Barclays on.
Yeah, and kids were like, "What are those?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're Charles Barkley's." And I was like a kid that had a cool shoe on. And
Uh,
I love that. It was just a part of the game of basketball, and we grew up in a really special time of sneaker culture in basketball, and
Absolutely.
I was a big part of it for me growing up.
I love it. I love the intersectionality of how basketball and the league and the game kind of and the family all pulls you in and really entice you to get on the court and stick with it, which I really love about that.
Yeah,
So you're playing ball. When did you when did you start to pick up and realize, hey, I'm actually good at this. Like this is a
yeah,
sport for me.
yeah. Athletics came to me pretty naturally, to be
Yep.
honest. Academics, not so much. With my learning disability and a couple other challenges that I had growing up, school was really, really hard.
Okay.
And so my outlet was sports, and it just naturally kind of hit right. My first real memory of it was on the elementary soccer field, where I just was a little bit quicker. I was a little bit more able to do things that other kids weren't able to do, and I said, "Wow, like I actually feel good when I get done doing this." Versus
Yeah.
in school, it was so hard. And so as I got older, the identity of sports to me was like it was a part of me. Um,
Yeah.
and then when I got to high school, uh, and making varsity as a freshman for
Wow.
lacrosse and basketball, I knew there was a shot for me to be able to do something. I think at that point, and that's when some AAU directors started coming around and talking to my parents and saying, "Hey, we need you over here in Baltimore." And that exposed me into a whole different type of the game of basketball because now I
Yeah.
was in the inner city and I wasn't in suburbia. And I was like, oh, this is like real time basketball. And so playing in those on those AAU teams really exposed me to the broader talent of basketball. And
Yeah.
then when I started to excel at that capacity, then I knew there was an opportunity there. And really, the decision that I had to make was: did I want to play college lacrosse, or did I want to play college basketball? And
Yeah.
so I thankfully was getting recruited by higher level Division Ones for lacrosse than I was basketball. And so I was very pulled at the time which one I wanted to go to. But for me, the decision I made was based upon not only the love of the game, but also the
Yeah.
people. And I just connected better with people in basketball than I did lacrosse, to be
For
quite
sure.
frank. So that led me to, pursuing basketball as a long-term proposition.
I love it. I love it. There's something you said there with, when you went to play AAU ball. Who were some of those? Because you're playing at a high level, you're playing all over the country, I'm sure. Who were some of
Yeah.
those athletes that you played with or even against?
Yeah. Yeah. So Rudy Gay would probably be the one that everybody knows from the Maryland area
Yeah.
that was pretty significant because he had such a great NBA career during my time.
Yeah.
JJ Redick was down in Virginia, so he's a little bit south of me, so we never played against each other. But from a high school perspective, uh, I was a 3-point shooter. He was a 3-point shooter, so I knew of him, and we were on a lot of the charts around the same time.
Yeah.
We were talking about the DMV as a whole, not just like the state of Virginia or Maryland.
Yeah.
And then, there's a lot of Division One players that ended up, never making it into the league. But Maurice Johnson, who played at college Charleston, he was a phenomenal, like 6'5", shooting guard, could do everything. Played at Annapolis High
Yeah.
School. Him
Yeah.
and I had battles for a lot of years together and played together in the summer and pick up every day together. He was a little bit older than me, but really
Yep.
took me under his wing in a lot of ways. And then a lot of guys that played at University of Maryland and UMBC and a lot of schools around the area in Maryland and Baltimore that were just highly exceptional athletes and players that really were able to help me get better. And a
Yeah.
cool side story of this is, with my dad being a Navy guy, going to the Naval Academy, I played my pickup summer leagues, a lot of my summer ball at the MWR, which was on the Navy base. And so you would have
Wow.
these enlisted guys from all over the country playing pickup with me, and I was like 14, 15, 13, 14, 15 years old. These guys are like 22, 25,
Yeah.
28, like bounced whatever, jumping out of the gym, like super athletes. And then, of course, they're in the military, so they're all in great shape.
They're all in
And
great shape.
and I had to learn quick the physicality of the game, and I really had to like stand. I was 160 pounds soaking wet, right? So
Jeez.
like
Yeah.
I had to really learn how to play the game against older people and a lot more athletic than me. So um, the time at the Navy base helped me out a ton, and there was a guy named Tony who took me under his wing there and really helped me become the shooter that I became. So shout
That's
out to
right.
Tony for that.
On the back, you were able to get your shot together, and he was like, "Hey, here's how you shoot it consistently."
Yeah, yeah,
Love it, love it. So you're playing with these great athletes. You're playing AAU. You're traveling. You're competing against it, whether directly on the court or even indirectly on all the lists. And you said even playing being a three-sport athlete. Now you're being recruited heavily, and you're being recruited by the elite schools in lacrosse, but basketball not so much. What were some of the schools that you were being recruited in? How did you choose the school that you ended up at?
yeah. So the St. Mary's was probably my top choice in the
Yep.
EC at the time. UNC Asheville was where I selected. There was actually a high school friend that was actually playing on the women's team at UNC Asheville, and just raved about the program there, the coach there, and the players there. And so I elected to go to Asheville, which we had really strong leadership my freshman year. Um, Hunter Smith and Alex Frengel, and then we got to go over the three seniors. Andre ended up playing for Team Jamaica, national team, and he was an all-conference first-team point guard. And he kind of took me under his wing right away. Like we just hit it off, and he was just an exceptional leader. And we stayed in touch for the years after we left Asheville. But we had I just felt a bond between the guys at Asheville, and we had a pretty special run. But I had to select between those couple, mid-major or low mid-major schools. I had a ton of Division II and Division III schools looking at me that were from the area, Philadelphia, New York, Massachusetts, Maryland, Virginia area. And so when I went down to Asheville, it was another experience for me that was really important because I went to being the best player on the team, so a lot of being the best player on my Asian teams, to really being another guy on the roster,
Yeah.
having to prove myself. And we had a lot of freshmen that year. We had 8
Okay.
freshmen. And
Okay.
so for me, it was really eye-opening experience. Like, man, this is a competition every single day. And
did.
so selecting Asheville, those are the reasons why. It was a beautiful area. Loved the campus. Loved North Carolina. Loved the guys in the locker room right away. I met them and have some lifelong friends from that team. So
That's awesome.
had to make those tough decisions. Ironically, believe it or not, my sister chose Mount St. Mary's like 2 months after I chose Asheville. So we literally could have gone to the same school and
Gone to the
played
same school.
across. But she had a phenomenal career there. She was the first team all conference, won her conference multiple times, played in the NCAA tournament herself as well as I did.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty cool experience to watch her arrive there at Mount St. Mary's.
That's awesome. That's pretty awesome. I mean, like you said, the DMV area has so much talent that comes out of that area, right? I mean, so I love East Coast basketball. Me being in Chicago, in the Chicagoland area, there's so much talent in Illinois, so I already know what it's like out there. Even watching, I think I was watching Kevin Durant's documentary a while ago, Something in the Water, just talking about all the different athletes coming from that area and that genre of basketball and that style of basketball. And then you travel down south just to UNC Asheville, where, I mean, that's another just basketball state of just, you got tons of teams in that area who are playing at a high level, and you're on a team with a bunch of freshmen. Like you said, you had to fight. And here's a question, that I love to tap into. Something you mentioned, just having kind of a learning disability at the time growing up, you making it to that next level. Was there a challenge at all that you had to work through because, education just wasn't your strong suit at the time?
Yeah, it's a great question. One that I try to share a lot because I think a lot of people deal with it and don't share it quite honestly. And for me, I had an IEP, so I'm dyslexic, I have a word processing problem, and challenge, and then a couple of other things. And so with that, I had a tutor from first grade all the way through college. Every single week I had a tutor. So on Wednesday nights from first grade through 12th grade, my mom until I could drive myself, we would drive to the tutors Tuesday and Wednesday nights after school and after practice. And,
Wow.
it was tough, right? Everybody else got to go hang out or stay after, and I was running to educational assistance in a lot of different ways. And testing was hard and exams were hard. With the IEP, I was able to take the SAT with extended time on my SATs. So I'm in a room by myself for 4.5, 5 hours, right? Everybody else takes it with 20, 30 other people. I'm taking it by myself. And really the story that I like to share is, when you have an IEP, you go in and have meetings, your parents typically do with the counselors, with the educational team at the schools. And they told my mom that I'd most likely not go to a 4-year school and not be able to, take on the rigors of a 4-year college. And, once I heard that, I said, hey, I'm going to show them wrong.
There you go.
I had to work, 5 times harder and study 5 times longer than everybody else did. I had a great GPA. I was on the honor roll. I made the dean's list at college and got my MBA after I got my undergrad. My thing was always, I'm going to just keep proving everybody wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take this challenge and make this perceived challenge and turn it into a strength. And that's really a quote that I know we'll talk about later from MJ that I saw really early on in my life, and it's stuck with me ever since. And And so it was tough. It was hard. And college was not easy. But I
Yeah.
was able to, persevere through it. And I had some amazing people help me along the ways. All those tutors, all the assistants in college. I was part of an educational assistance program at
Yeah.
Asheville and Brevard. And there's a lot of people that want to help you. You just got to tell them that you need the help, and someone's usually there. And so it was a great
Absolutely.
question. I think one that, hopefully won't be here because people are going through that struggle and don't typically share it.
Absolutely. No, I really appreciate you, having that vulnerability and being able to share because you're right. It's not just the one person in the world. There's so many people out there and, not many people feel comfortable enough to share. But I think that your voice to being able to share that is going to empower a lot of people to really push through that perseverance,
Yeah.
put in that extra work to be better than, and show other people that, hey, this is what I can do. I can go to a 4-year college, institution, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, don't allow for someone else to do that. No, that's great. So back to, being that student athlete, you're challenged there with, of course, school at the time, but you're challenged there with, fighting for time on court. What was the 4-year experience for you there at UNC Asheville?
Yeah, so it was a really unique experience. So I ended up deciding to redshirt my freshman year there. And so the cool part of UNC Asheville was we had a really, you know, very close-knit team, but we just had so many injuries throughout the year, and we had a
Wow.
young team already that we were under 500 going into the conference tournament. And when we got there, most people had us out in the first round. We ended up beating Elon in the first round, and then going to the tournament in the quarterfinals and winning that game, and then playing Winthrop in the semifinals, beating them by a buzzer beater, and then
Oh,
go play
wow.
Radford in the championship of the Big South Conference, and then beating them. And
Oh,
so we
wow.
ended up going to the state tournament, but phoning the conference tournament with under 500 record. And then, being one of those miracles in March. Then they go play in the playing game back when the playing game was only two teams in one
The
game in
thing, yeah.
Ohio. And we played against Texas Southern, which had a former UNC Asheville player that transferred out of Asheville, who was the best player at the Texas Southern team. And we ended up
Wow.
beating them. But then we played Texas, University of Texas in the first round with TJ Ford and
Oh,
Moonton and
wow.
number ones for the country. And we ended up losing to them in the first round in Alabama. And just the experience in itself though, it's like, move up through the conference tournament
Yeah.
and then, get on ESPN and have these buzzer beaters. We're running on the court and we're chatting on Alex who hit the buzzer beater and then going and playing in the tournament and beating, winning the first game of playing. It was a phenomenal experience. And so
Yeah.
one that, when you're young, you think it's going to happen again. You're like, oh yeah, we're going to do this again. And you don't know how special those moments are because they're just a blip in time. And so
Yeah.
I look back fondly on that through that redshirt year. And then I elected to decide to transfer from Asheville from that season. A couple of
Right.
freshmen and I decided to leave the program. It was a great program. Eddie Biedenbach was a great coach, and the guys there are phenomenal players there. We all still stay in touch for the most part. And
Nice.
uh, and so I elected to go and try to get back close to the home. It's something, some things didn't work out from a transfer portal perspective. And I got in touch with Coach Mike Jones at the time, the late Mike Jones. He's not here with us anymore. But
Mm.
he knew of me because I was just 30 minutes away. He was at a Division II school called Brevard College. And
Mm.
so they were about 30 minutes south of us. And he said, hey, Ryan, I see you're still in the portal. We need a shooting guard. No. And I said, well, hey, I love the area. Let's go check it out. And Mike
Yeah.
and I hit it off right away. And we had a phenomenal team there for Brevard for the 4 years that I played there. Ended my career as a starter and a captain my junior and senior year. And got a lot of playing time throughout my whole career. We ended up going back there and beating UNC Asheville at home as a Division II school,
Wow.
which was a phenomenal end of my career in a sense from
Yeah.
a Division perspective. To be able to go back to the Division One and beat them back home, which was great, which was an awesome experience for us. And so I had a great time there. Brevard ended up being my home. and it still is in a lot of ways. I'll share that a little bit. But two great experiences and really formed great bonds and a foundation of what was going to come next for my career.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sure you probably did not plan to leave UNC Asheville, and you had to make what we like to call, I guess, in today's days, a business decision, if you will. But also just what's best for you. And you found it there at Pepper College to be able to go there and figure things out.
Yeah.
So you were playing there 4 years. You know, you had the redshirt year at UNC Asheville, playing there 4 years. It's not Division I, but you're playing at that high level. You're still doing that.
Yeah.
Last game comes about. Did you make a decision or at all like, hey, this is the last game of my playing career? Or were you in your mind like, I'm still going to try and go to the NBA or go overseas? Or how did that process happen for you when it was time to close your collegiate locker for the last time?
Yeah. So I knew an NBA wasn't on my roadmap. I knew that pretty early on.
Yep.
And I knew overseas was a possibility. And so I had a senior capstone class that you had to go to business, and then present that business. Well, I made the business myself, and I started reaching out to over 350 teams and organizations over in Europe. And then I
Wow.
tracked them in the log, and then I would write to them. And I had a bio, and I had highlight film, I had all my stats. And from that 350 plus outreach, I got 3 offers. I got 10
Wow.
teams to respond, 3 offers, and I signed one deal with a team out of the Super League in Ireland.
Okay.
So I signed with them. I was prepared to go over there. And unfortunately, as a lot of people talk about, the pro experiences in Europe, it's a little bit fragile at sometimes, depending on what league you're in. It was a smaller league in Europe, of course. Our team expanded right before the season. So
Oh,
I never
wow.
got to Ireland after signing a deal. And so I put around the States in the ABA, played, in some games and some teams there, in New Jersey, in Philadelphia. And then I said, yeah, it's time to go coach.
Yeah.
And so, believe it or not, I called Coach Mike Jones back up and said, hey, I'm ready to coach. To do that as
Okay.
my career. And as I was about to go do that, I had an agent at the time. He called me and said, hey, there's a team in Iceland that's ready to sign you today. And I'm
Today.
like, oh, so now I have to make a decision. Do I go coach
Yeah.
or do I go do that? And I elected to go coach,
Okay.
knowing that the fragile state and the environment of playing. And I knew I was going to play for long, and coach
Yeah.
wanted me down there. So I went down to the bar, went back to coach after bar after I got done playing, and trying to play for a season or two
Yeah.
professionally. And that led to an awesome experience for me to go coach at a really young age, to have a lot of responsibility in that, and then go back to what I did. Right, I went back to
Yeah.
Melbourne, which was a great place for me to go.
That's awesome. You never know, and I tell people this all the time, like I said, it's a fragile process going abroad. You don't know if the team is going to withstand whatever financial issues or challenges that they may have. You don't
Yeah,
know how good they're going to be. You may not even know the language that they speak, and that barrier. So there's
yeah,
some barriers, but if you're able to make it over there, there are some pros to go along with it. There's some positives that goes along, but there are also the negative sides. So for those who are looking to go abroad and play overseas or elsewhere, you just kind of weigh those things out if you aren't able to make it to the NBA or other places, like I said. So, oh,
for
that's
sure.
awesome. So, do you have that? Like, I love the fact that you created your own business to put your feelers out. Basically, you were being your own agent,
Yeah,
right? Did
yeah,
did you in your I love it because you're kind of teaching yourself all, flying a plane while building,
yeah.
at the same time, right? You're building, you're adding some tools into the kit. And do you have a plan to take that and say, actually, I'm going to use this and then go coach and figure something out within sports coaching, or did those two ever marry at all?
Not as much as I thought back then. Now I look back at how close they really were, but didn't really find that connection point.
Yeah.
And, for me, it was like, what better way to spend my time than trying to help myself? And I was learning myself at the same time, as we do in college. We learn what we're good at and learn, our personalities continue to blossom and become more prevalent into who we're going to become as adults. And
Yeah.
And so for me, it was a really great learning lesson because I was negotiating with, GMs, regardless if they're not as big as the GMs here in the States and then in the NBA,
Yes.
but still doing that and signing a contract. And, the GM and the owner and the coach came over and I met them in Philadelphia before I signed with the team in Ireland. And
Wow.
it was an incredible experience. I was doing it all my own, no agent at all. Um,
Wow.
and so I got to go through that experience and understand. And I was very naive. Like I didn't know really what I was doing, but I thought I was like, hey, it's working, so I might as well keep doing it.
Why
Um,
not?
and so building the plane while flying is something that I'm experiencing right now in real time as a business owner. But
Yeah.
knowing that I've done it now for over 20 years in a lot of different ways is we're all kind of doing that. And so it's trusting in yourself and learning about taking the wins and celebrating them and taking the losses and trying to learn from them. So
Yeah.
that's what a lot of those experiences were back then. And they're foundational for what I'm
Exactly. And that's exactly what I want to get into now. We're going to jump right into the second half because I'm already seeing the nuances that happen to help you learn, to help transition you into today. So, all
yeah.
right, you took the route of started coaching, which I
Yeah.
love that. You only spent 2 years coaching. Is that what it was, or did you spend longer than that?
Yeah, 2 seasons. Yeah.
So what made you transition away from coaching or away from being so close to the game at that point?
Yeah. So, I thought coaching was going to be my 40, 50-year career, and I was going to just do it like my grandfather did, right? That'd be who
Yeah,
I was. And I started to realize very early on, if you're coaching a Division two team, the compensation, the travel, the challenges of that, um, and where you're doing it from, and do I end up in North Carolina or do I end up in Kentucky or Tennessee? Do I have
yeah,
any roots there? What did I want to do? And I wanted that a little bit more control. And
mm,
so I did a couple meetings with someone I knew in banking. They said, no, you don't want to be in banking, Brian. That doesn't fit you very well. You want to be in sports. Like that, you should stay in sports. I know a couple people. Well, that person that I ended up meeting knew more people. And ironically, she introduced me to a couple people in Utah. So I met with Utah Jazz. I know Utah Lake Real. I met with Utah Bees, which
wow,
at the time was owned by the Miller family before they sold it a couple years ago.
yep,
And they offered me a job in the Salt Lake Bees organization on the marketing side, and then hopefully funnel that into Utah Jazz at some point. Well, on my last meeting of the day, once we set up all these meetings, and my daughter looks at Nike. I said, "Oh, like, what does she do at Nike?" And she's like, "Oh, she runs footwear for a footwear division." I said, "Oh, wow." And she started as an Ekin. I said, "What's an Ekin?" She said,
what's
"It's
a
Nike's,
weekend?
Nike's spelled backwards." She said, "That's a kid. She just left." And she said it back to Poland. She just was here in Salt Lake with me. And I said, "Oh, God, I wish I could have met her." Well, I sent her one email. She said, "Hey,
Yeah,
you could do a couple things. You could stay in sports and work your way up and come over to Nike later, or you could go to a retail store." And that's all it took for me was to say, "Okay, how am I going to do this? I want to work at
he'll get,
Nike again." I named, Michael, David, Charles earlier. Of course, all Nike athletes on top of Deion
yep,
Sanders and everybody else, like Ken Griffey Jr. back then. And
yep,
they were all Nike athletes. And I swore by a swoosh, and I applied for a retail opening position of a seasonal sales associate for $8 an hour at a new Nike
wow,
store opening up in Baltimore, Maryland. Not only did I get the job, they offered me $11 an hour. That's when I
okay,
started out as a lead manager. So I had an email address and I had access to the manager's office, which I said that's all I needed because then I would start networking with everybody at Nike, and that's exactly what I did. So I left coaching.
absolutely,
Coach was a little surprised due to my skill set that I had as a coach and how quick it was for me to leave. But I left and then had an amazing 13-year career at Nike. So
wow.
in the retail store at $11 an hour.
Wow, we have a lot of similarities there because that's exactly what I did in order to get. It's funny because, as you know, you'll get the emails, you'll get hit on LinkedIn saying, "How do I get into Nike? How do I get into Nike?" And
Yep.
as you did, you didn't really have necessarily the plan per se. You
No.
had one contact, and everything else it was just, "All right, I'm gonna grind this thing out. All right, this is the way I got to get in. Cool, I'm gonna go through retail and." That's the way that you got in and you started your career
No.
there. And 13 years
No.
later, you were able to move through that. So
Yeah.
let's go into that space, right? You were able to get into to Nike through the retail space. You hit a couple of other roles within that space. Tell me a little bit about that journey while you were at Nike.
Yeah, so when I got to the store, again, a little bit of the this was actually a strength because if I really understood what I was going up against, I might have not done. I
Yeah.
got to the store making 11 to start with, and I moved to 11.25 as a lead manager. And I was kept telling everybody I want to work in corporate Nike. I want to be unique. I want to be unique. Most people at the store were like, "What's unique?"
Yep.
And I was, out of God's grace, my mentor came to the store lunch named Jeff Tapkus, and he kept buying stuff and asking me to help him with purchases. And I know he said to him one day, "Jeff, why are you always in here? Like, if you live in New Jersey, why are you always here in Baltimore?" He said, "Brian, we're down the street, like 10 minutes from here at the local mid-Atlantic sales office with 4 or 5 other people." I said, "There's a Nike office in Maryland?" He said, "Yeah,
Wow.
buy it tomorrow." And I did. And I never looked back. I would work 8 to 5 at the store. The next day, 1 to 10. So I had a 1 to 10 shift. I would go into the showroom from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock to 12:30, and then I would drive 10 minutes over, eat my lunch, and then work the 1 to 10 shift at the store and drive 45 minutes home every single night. And
Wow.
I did that for about 2.5 years. And from there, I met Eakins in the local area, the Mid Atlantic Eakins, so the DC and Baltimore Eakins. And they
Yep.
took me under their wing, and I started helping out at Eakin events, and that's an Eakin career where I was able to then help the Eakin in DC. I did that for about 2 to 3 years, and I won Eakin of the Year in 2012, and it was a
Nice.
goal of mine to win that once I heard about it, and then I started. Then my networking and my connections then I started really, take shape. And
Yeah.
so we were going out to campus in Beaverton, Oregon. I was meeting with people every time I went. Whatever I could do, I would set 15 minutes aside and go meet with people. And one of those people was Nico Harris, the
Yeah.
VP of basketball sports marketing for
Yep.
the NBA at Nike. And
Yep.
he said, "Ryan, is there a Deacon of the Year award?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Have you won that yet?" I said, "No." He's like, "Well, I only work with the best. So if you really want to work on my team, like I expect that you win this thing." So my next year was the only thing I thought about was like winning it. So I won
Yeah.
it, showed him the trophy, and the rest was kind of history. We built our bond over 10 years now. And it started from him like really motivating me to do the best and to go pursue that. And, and from there, I had an idea that I wanted to work in NBA sports marketing for Nike and sign NBA players to the brand. I knew that that was such a elite team and such a small team that it was going to be hard to get on.
Yep.
I knew that I was going to try different things, and so one of the things that I did is I didn't move up vertically. I moved all around. I moved from retail to weekends at that time was in brand marketing. I took a
Yep.
sales job in Houston, Texas, in team sports sales, and so I sold,
Wow.
uniforms and equipment and footwear to local high schools and colleges through the retailers that bought our products. And then I did product creation for the Jordan brand and footwear and lifestyle and training. And then by getting this robust and comprehensive experience, all different verticals of the company, really, if you look back on it, retail sales, product creation, and brand marketing, it led to an opportunity for me in sports marketing in the 2015-2016 season when Nike got the NBA license deal. They needed
Wow.
I don't know to do an NBA deal acquisition to sign the athletes to the brand. And so the need for me was to get that job, and Nico and I were, building a relationship now for multiple years, about 7-ish
Yeah.
years to build that up. And the major goal was trying to re-sign Giannis Antetokounmpo in 2017, and walked into a situation where he wasn't too happy with the brand. The
Okay.
reps that were working with him, were not giving him as much love as he thought he needed, and he was on a 13, 15 win season. So it wasn't like,
Yeah.
he wasn't all started yet. Just, there's still the BMO Center, an old,
Yep.
stadium at the time, one of the oldest in the NBA, and so the attention was on other players. And so, I had to come in and really mend that relationship in the 2015-2016 season, and then showcased him over 2 years or so that we were really going to build something with him. And then, of course, his whole entire career shifted as he continued to just improve
Yeah.
exponentially. to all-star level, to then MVP level. And so by that time, the relationship was firm, and I was able to really secure that for the
Yeah.
land and build that out and that journey. But all those iterations of my career led to being able to do that, and then to build it. So it was
Yeah.
a really fun experience at Nike, and I really got to understand the holistic side of the business, of footwear and athletics. And so it was a phenomenal time, especially building out some brand itself was a
Absolutely.
great way to experience.
Absolutely. Something I love about this, this conversation is that, you know, not only just persevering through each stage and each step to find where you wanted to go and setting your goals, but one piece that's extremely important that I think is very valuable is you have that mentorship. You were building relationships, but beyond the relationship, you were getting a bit more than just someone to say, hey, friend, let's go to lunch. Hey, friend, let's go have a drink. Hey, it was more than that. It was someone who will challenge you outright and said, listen, if you're not the best, I don't want you,
Yeah,
and put that challenge in your hands to are you going to accept the challenge or not? How important is having that mentorship relationship?
man, it's everything. To be honest with you, it gives you a sense of confidence that you can reach out to someone who's already had success. You can ask them questions that you might not ask others in an unbiased way, and if your mentor is who hopefully is, like where they have the ability to just give it to you straight, that's who you want to, right? And so
Nope.
Nico was, Jeff Taukas was, Jim Ford was, who was at Nike and still there, and others. And they were pivotal in my career because they gave me that confidence, that the career mapping and my strategies and my implementations of what I was doing myself and my own intuition was navigated the right way. And so to me, I always tell people when you're doing informationals, you're trying to do one of three things. And I did a ton of informationals, and Nike's notorious for that. Some people have that as their
Yep.
full-time job at the swoosh. Like that's what they
Yeah.
do. They do informationals as their job, right? And they just network to get new jobs, and that's how they
Yep.
move up. But I took informationals on in a way to get one of, if not all three goals. One, to find someone that could hire me at one point. Number one. Number two was find someone that could enlist or support me to then get a job and say, hey, Brian, I can hire you because I don't have an opening, but I know this guy or this
Yep.
girl. She'd be great. You'd be great fit with them. Let me tell them about you. The third one is intel and information. If I can find out about something, something that someone else doesn't, that gives me an upper hand. And so that's how I took informationals. And what happened from that is I did get all three of those, but I did also get mentors out of that. And that's the number one, right? And
Yep.
that's where Nico came along, the Bill Farnhams of the world, those type of people that were my mentors, but then ended up becoming my bosses because they
Yep.
believed in me enough to hire me on their teams. And so it's such a pivotal piece of my career, and I always encourage everybody to find their mentor. And you're gonna have different ones throughout your career and seasons of your life. But it's really an important piece of your career choice.
For sure. Absolutely. On top of that mentor that you were working with, the Nico then goes on to be GM with the Dallas Mavericks, doing a phenomenal job with that. But also working with Giannis, did you have that mapped out of how close that relationship would come, and then in turn kind of pull you away from Nike in your next role?
No, not at all. I was a unique hire for Nico in sports marketing. I was the first white field rep to come into that space, and so that
Yeah.
was in itself, thing that Nico believed in me and it gave me a lot of confidence in. A lot of people said I never did that job because of how I looked.
Yeah.
And so I was navigating that space and then navigating multi-million-dollar 20-year-old athletes, agents, teams, and all that. And I was just I was drinking through a fire hose and,
Yeah.
I was trying to mend the relationship with Carl Towns. I was trying to mend the relationship with Giannis on the tempo. I was also having DeMar DeRozan up in Toronto, who was doing a
Wow.
phenomenal job and making it really far in the playoffs every year. He's a phenomenal player and guy. I had a great portfolio of athletes, and a lot of that was already curated from people that were already on our team, right? And
Yeah.
then that started initiated those. But more so, my job was to come in and was to prove my worth by not being a friend, not being another person to just add on to their daily Rolodex of phone calls or emails or texts, or just ask for requests from them, but to show
Yeah.
them value. And from that, that's where Giannis and I relationship really blossomed. He was a person that's results oriented through goals and actions, right? And so really early on, I said, don't listen to all things. I'm not going to tell you all these things that I'm going to promise you. Let me
Right.
show you. It's kind of give me an opportunity to show you that we can service you, we can build together, we can hopefully build something really special. And as he started to ascend, Nike started to take more and more attention to this. And that's when more people started to come either back into the fold of the attention or started to say, hey, I want to be part of this. And
Yeah.
so as the signature conversation happened, as the renewal happened in 2017, I knew that I was perfectly set up to run the business from footwear, comms, sales, marketing, retail, because I did all those jobs and worked in all those functions. And so it was a perfect blend of someone that was really highly driven and really very focused on results. And I was
Yep.
able to provide those results. And I was able to build that team out from brand marketing and brand identity to the footwear, to the apparel, to accessories, to all the activations and all the communications we're going to make with him. And from that, created a really deep relationship because we were working so intimately together on building his brand. It
Yeah.
was a really special time for us. We grew up a lot in his career very fast, as I did in my career very fast at
Yeah.
that time. And
Yep.
so from that led to a lot of exposure to not just Nike, but to and not just Giannis as well, but I was working with a ton of agents, a ton of players at about 45, 50 players per year.
Yeah.
I was in the locker room and in the stadiums, the practice facilities every single day for 6 years.
Yeah.
And so from that created an opportunity for me outside of the swoosh.
That's awesome. And like you said, it came quick. I remember working with you one day and we were talking about it, and I was like, how do we just get more, involvement with Giannis when I was overseeing, the Midwest, right? How do we go to Milwaukee and make more impact with Giannis? And I remember I was sitting there, and the next thing you know, the snap of the finger, all of a sudden this guy started to become conversation about All-Star. I remember him and Jabari Parker, those two, they were climbing and growing together. I'm like, man, okay, there's something happening in Milwaukee. Let's figure something out. And then
Yes.
you just took it to another level. You got in the kitchen with the guy cooking up the shoes for the signature athlete, and next thing you know, we're looking at a global star, and he's doing phenomenal things on the court that went far beyond anything that any of us were thinking about.
I still distinctly remember that conversation with you and Howard in in the
Yeah,
Chicago office about what we were going to do in Milwaukee. And at that time, it was sort of not too many people know about is that he was wearing the old Kobe 10s and the air
yep.
bubble popped in the right heel.
Oh, jeez.
And he still wore them because he was a creature of habit and he just knew what he liked and kept doing what he liked and what worked for him. And I said, "Gosh, we got to get you out of those shoes. Like it's not good for you to be on. We got to get you another set of Kobe's. We'll make PEs for you and make them in certain colorways. We'll put your logo on there. At the
Yeah,
time it was just a 34, and so we brought him out to the kitchen. When you say kitchen, to remind me of that, we brought him to that Asian space and we measured his foot, and he was wearing a size 16 shoe. And he was a
he's right,
17,
man.
and so he was wearing
Wow,
he was wearing a 1.5 size too
too
small.
small.
And so
Wow.
right away, there was a result, right? We brought him in. It took a little bit of time. I got Jason Kidd at the time to move the practice from downtown Portland to the Bo Jackson facility on campus so we could take a cart straight to the innovation kitchen. The rest of the guys went to the Nike employee store and they
Of
went
course.
shopping. And then Giannis and I found out that he was wearing a shoe 1.5 size too small. And by
Wow.
servicing the athlete and going above and beyond and making sure that he was performing at the highest ability, by making sure that he was in the right equipment, making sure that it was fitted for him, was a great start to the relationship. And that was
Wow.
around the same time that we were talking about what we were going to do in Milwaukee. And then led to a signature business that $100 million in year one. It was the largest Nike basketball signature launch in history.
Wow.
And that was because of his global reach, but also his personality and the amazing products that were being built at that
Yeah.
time. The body teams did incredible jobs with apparel and footwear and accessories. And it was a team effort. And we met with Giannis and the team at the Bucks facility. John Horst and Peter Fegan of the Milwaukee Bucks let us come in and be part of that team. And we met. So what we would do is we wouldn't meet at a restaurant or a hotel conference room or even his house. After
Of
he got
course.
that practice and he went to the training room, he would walk in and be right into the film room area where we did all the meetings. So all the footwear team flew out there, the apparel team, the accessory team, the brand identity team. And we built it that way. So when he was done, he could leave practice and go be with his family because we knew that was his number one focus outside of basketball.
Yeah.
And so we really understood him as an athlete and as a person, and that led to such a great thriving business and a great relationship.
Absolutely. I think what you did there, looking back on it, it's really just taking the eye of who that athlete is. He's a hard worker. You're going to be a hard worker. He's goal oriented. You are as well. And not only that, you're willing to get into the details. And so that even helps, even with the storytelling, in my opinion. When you think about what happened with Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's a big family guy. He loves his brothers. They're like this. So having a commitment to them and connecting each one of them into the storylines he's doing. As a marketer, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to dive into those key stories that are going to really connect and pull out that those types of feelings that you want the consumer to feel. And Giannis is definitely that guy. And not only just that within Milwaukee, that's universal all the way to Greece, Nigeria, so many other places. So I love that for both of you guys. But that didn't just stop there, right? That relationship didn't have to just stop there. You had an incredible career at Nike. Actually, before we even jump to that, what were some of like your key moments? Like I know Giannis, but even beyond that, what were some of those key moments that you actually experienced within the walls of Nike?
Yeah, I mean, I think, presenting the Michael Jordan at the Toronto All-Star on my footwear line and then him coming up to me afterwards. And the fun story there was we met him in the morning and it was going to go through lunch. And so we had a breakfast with him and then a lunch with him. And then he was going to be with some other business meeting. And so my presentation was pushed back 20 minutes, 15 minutes,
Of course.
all the way until almost lunchtime. And so I had like about 7 minutes to present my whole entire product line of a couple $100 million, right? And in pursuit of that, I got it done in 7 minutes, and he ran to the restaurant. And so everybody else went over to the buffet and started getting food inside this massive conference room. And so I said, well, I'm probably just like stop there. I went over and stood by his chair and waited for him to come back. And when he came back, he said, "Hey, Brian, right?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Hey, MJ, I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to present." He said, "Well, hey, you're crushing, man. What's your on? Where's your on at KP? Bring him over here." Come on, bring him a He tapped me up twice, and I was like, "No one's ever going to believe me." That he said my name when he walked up to me, and then he tapped me up twice and said I did a great job. I was like, that in the lost Nike. That was one that I'll always remember. Of course, building Giannis's business and flying with him across the world, from China to Europe to all over North America, to launch that product. And then I'd say my time as a kid, right? Some of my lifelong friends are from that group. We were young and hungry, and we were motivated and determined to find out what our careers were going to be. And so it was a great time to be there. And we were at a time where it was kind of so old school Nike, right? It was really grassroots. It was very like, go get it done and figure out a way to get it done. And that I got a little piece of that before it started to shift into more of what it is today. And so I was really, really blessed to be able to experience those things and meet the friends and lifelong relationships that I have. I met my wife at night. So, that changed my life. We have 2 little girls now, and we met in the MJ building, right? And so there's some really difficult moments in my career from the swoosh. And I look back very fondly on it. I still have a lot of friends from my time.
I love that. I love that. That's phenomenal. I mean, there's so many great stories working with the MJ and the Jordan brand, Uron, product, all those things. So you're bringing me back to memories that we had, back in the day. So I love it. But no, let's keep going. So you close the chapter at Nike, and then you found yourself moving on with the Milwaukee Bucks. Was that just kind of based on, again, you're being in practices, you're working with Giannis, you guys are building those relationships? Is that kind of how you navigated into that next by just building relationships, or did mentorship also come into play with that again?
Yeah, building relationships is probably the number one thing there. From being around in the facilities and teams so much. I had a couple teams recruiting me for a couple years. to
Okay.
go over to different offices, and the Bucks were one of those teams. And John West and I built a friendship and a relationship that's still to this day. And one of the things that we always talked about was building a championship level team together.
Yeah.
And what was really cool about that was I understood the intricacies of that organization, that team, because I was there so often. And so I knew Giannis, I knew Chris, I knew Bobby, I knew Pat, I knew the Lopez brothers. I knew all those guys really well, the training staff, the front office, the coaching staff. And so when the time came, John and I talked for about 2 to 3 years on the opportunity for me to come over there. I thought I was a Nike lifer, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And John put something on the table from our conversations that I couldn't say no to. And it was about an hour and 15-minute commute up from Chicago. And my wife and I, Alan and I, talked about it and said, hey, to become an executive and vice president of an NBA team and run a department and work with the people that I love so much, from the
Yeah.
players and the staff and the business side and the training setup. It was just a perfect fit and a perfect transition for me in my career. And so we hopped over up into Milwaukee. And then, I told John right as I signed the contract, I said, do you need my ring size? Because I knew I was like, we're going to win a championship. And little did we know about just a couple months later that actually happened. So,
Oh my goodness.
so it was a pretty amazing life altering experience for sure.
Absolutely. Tell me this, because there's one part that you said there that I'm definitely going to come back to. But what was kind of the day to day of being a VP with the Milwaukee Bucks? What did that kind of look like as you walked in your day to day in Milwaukee?
Yeah, it was a little unique for me, I'd say, because John and I created a new position.
Okay.
And so in that position, I was looking over overarching operations, efficiency, not the overall basketball operations, but the efficiency of the basketball ops. Right? And how
Gotcha.
can we drive more of the corporate learnings of Nike and bring that to the basketball operational side, and then also help out on player development.
Yeah.
After we won the championship, the player development staff was so talented. Drew Franklin, who's now vice president in the NBA, Nico Alves, and Carroll is also now at the executive for the Philadelphia 76ers. They were able to get promoted and take new jobs. So it ended up becoming my department as well to then
Wow.
run the player development department on top of what I was doing within basketball development affairs. So it was a really unique time for me. I had two new kids coming out of COVID,
Yeah.
working from home for Nike for a year and a half to being in the
Yeah.
office, and being with the players and at the games and at practices and shoot arounds and everything in between. And so the days are all different.
Yeah.
I was working with the scouting department. I was working with captain strategy. I was working on the ownership messaging and communication. So any things of the transactions that we would do. They're working on player needs, services, and of course family needs and services. So I was touching a lot of the overall organizational pieces of basketball operations. And
Yeah.
so it was fun because it was so unique every single day.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was also raising a new family, and really trying to balance that out, which was also challenging in its own right. But it was a lot of fun, and it's such a great group of individuals there in Milwaukee. And a lot of them are still there, and they have a lot of winning left to do. So they got a promising future ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, from the outside looking in, they were extremely fun team to watch.
Yeah.
Chris Middleton on that squad, just so many. Drew, I think he was on that
Yeah.
team as well. So him getting another championship, which is great. One thing that, like you said, you walked in the door and you already knew that, hey, this team was primed and ready for a championship.
Yeah.
For a championship team, I feel that every piece of business within that company, organization, team has to all be kind of tuned and wired to have that as their goal. Was that
Yeah.
something that they had on the onset in the beginning, or just like, hey, this year we're starting everything we do, we eat like a champion, we sleep like a champion, we drink like a champion, like all those things? Was that just kind of how it was throughout the entire team and organization?
Yeah, I think Giannis really sets the pulse there. It still does, right? Now Dame's there, and he knows how to do that too. And if he's with your best player and he's the hardest worker, then everybody else can kind of follow suit. And John being the leader internally on the front office side and Peter Beck on the business side is, you got some really strong leaders and talented people that know how to work really hard. And so
Yeah.
by setting that as a culture, yeah, that's really important. Then you need the ball to bounce your way. Right? And you could be a
Yeah.
little lucky, Kevin Durant's foot on the line, uh, you know, is an part piece of the journey,
Yep.
right? And then Giannis enduring through the injuries, coming back and having those miraculous games and coming back from a really significant injury, and the training staff helping you through that. Like, it's a whole team effort, and everybody's got to put a lot of effort into that and time and let's put in tears. So I think something that culturally every team tries to do, and
Yep.
how it doesn't always compete to win. So you gotta have the ball drop your way every now and then. You gotta be able to be a little lucky, but you gotta set yourself up to be lucky, and that comes from
Yeah.
preparation. And that's what that team has, really embodied over the last 5 to 10 years. And they had a lot more to do in that regard, and they're going to find a way to do it. I'm confident in that because they know the people in that building know what it takes to win now. And
Yeah.
that's a big piece of the puzzle. And that's why I see Boston Celtics continue to do what they're doing is because they know what winning is like and they know how to do that.
Yep.
And that's a big part of any company culture, whether it's on the sports side or business side. You have to know what winning looks like, and if you don't, you have to find it. And you have to
Gotta
be
find it.
relentless at times.
I love that. I love that. No, you're spot on there. All right, so you began to close that chapter with the Bucks. Was there any reason why, or was it just like, hey, something else was calling you that you just really wanted to do, you and your wife, or anything like that? Or what made that ultimate decision of saying, okay, it's time to move on to the next thing?
Yeah, it was a really interesting time for me, right? Coming out of COVID, 2 kids in 26 months, and being a father, and then having a brand new job, brand new company. I had a 3-year deal with a 2-year extension after we won the championship, and I had an opportunity presented to me to spend a little anywhere in the country with Jeffrey Jordan and his team. And
Yeah.
I said, well, how often does that come? And so I wanted to answer your question. What I always try to identify what I needed in my life was how do I be the father I want to be, and how do I
Yep.
be the business person I want to be. And that wasn't a question I ever had the answer before. I never
Yep.
had to even think about it. And so when that opportunity came, it was one that I really couldn't say no to. So John and I had a great conversation and talking about what I wanted out of my life as a father, as a business person. And this was just setting up for me success in both regards. So we
Yeah.
moved to Scottsdale, Arizona, and started a company with Jeff and some other great individuals. And from there, I was able to then find entrepreneurship on my own, and
Yeah.
that led even to more opportunities for me than where I am now. And so, what I would say there is there's seasons of your life that you are not expecting or don't even know what to expect. You have to be able to internally uh, assess those in real time. You
Yeah.
could forecast them, but you'll never know what it feels like until you're in it. And so I
Absolutely.
always look back on my decisions as what I believe they're going to be, and then when I find out what they are, then I have to assess and then make decisions based on what I'm currently experiencing there. And so
Absolutely.
I elected autonomy, family, and building my own thing and having my uh, own stamp on what I in the sports industry, and then me within my family. And that's how I make my decision.
I love that. I love that. And, I think it's important for us to always do a quick assessment, and actually understand what is it I really want to do? Who do I want to be? What's the long-term goal? What are those things that we're really looking to get after? And I think that you've done a tremendous job in doing that. And that actually leads us to where you are today, right? Co-founder, CEO, of Sports Business Ventures. And you find yourself, still within the sports industry.
Yep.
To me, I feel like your entire journey, you kind of moved and operated with an entrepreneur mindset along the way of really just kind of owning your craft, owning your industry, owning your business and work. And now
Yep.
that's what you're doing here. So tell me a bit about SBV and what you're doing over here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It is funny when you look back on all the journey of your career. I did have that entrepreneurial spirit. I just didn't know it
Yeah.
100% right until it came to me. But at SBB, we're focused on educating, inspiring, and guiding the next generation of industry professionals. And so, throughout my career, the mentors were such a big part of who I was and how I became who I became. And that was through really real life experiences. So I'm trying to take those experiences through my career and get back to the industry leaders of tomorrow. And so
Yeah.
I typically get asked three major questions every single day. How do you work at Nike? How do you work at NBA? How do you work with pro athletes? And so I said, well, how do I turn this into something? So right now, our company's Sports Ventures has three verticals. One, consulting. So we work with a couple of sports brands and teams from a consulting lens. We have a sports media division to our newsletter, Scatter Report on the sports industry weekly. And then we have our social media. That encompasses over 50,000 people to date for all those platforms combined.
Wow.
And growing at a really nice clip per week and per month. And then we have our membership platform called the Playbook. And that ironically launches at the end of June. And that'll be $6.99 a month. It'll be $74.99 a year for an annual subscription. You'll get a month for free. And within that membership platform, you'll also get peer-to-peer communication platform so you can interact and network with like-minded people in the space, leaders as well as people that are at the same level as you. We'll have workshops and Q&As and fireside chats. And we'll also have job board that's curated for people that want to work in sports or sports adjacent companies like Nike, Hyperice, Gatorade, just to name a few. And then we also have resources. So we have modules, courses, videos, and also PDF files and templates for the person who's looking to elevate their career to utilize our membership platform at a really accessible price point, because we understand the pain points of a college student who's paying that college tuition and not getting paid too much for working a part-time job, or if you get out of school, you're not making a ton of money up front. So how can we make something accessible? So $6.99 is our price point. And we're really bringing the industry leaders and experts into this space to provide insight and inspiration for the next generation. And so that's our three pillars of our products that we're offering. And we're launching the playbook next week. And we have some amazing partners that we're launching with, and some amazing people that will be part of our community from the very get-go that are going to help people find their way.
No, I love that. Now, one, congratulations, because that's a huge milestone of just transitioning from the corporate world into finding your own niche and riding it out and building and going. In that space from an honest, I don't want to get to that yet, but in this space currently, as you're working and hearing for those people in the industry who are looking to just kind of grow, what are some of those kind of challenges that they're kind of discussing with you of like, hey, here's what I'm struggling with in order to break it into the industry? Because like you said, people are always asking those three questions: how do I work in Nike? How do I work to get, NBA? How do I work with athletes? All those different things. So what is it that you kind of realize after you're hearing and taking in that information from people?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenges are, I just got out of school. I don't have any experience yet. They're asking me to have 2 to 3 years of experience. How do I get that?
Yeah.
Or how do I get an internship when there's 700 people applying for the same internship? Or how do I network within the industry when no one really wants to talk to someone who just got out of school or is in school? And so,
Yeah.
really, it's curated, through my experience and really navigating that space and trying to get not shortcuts, but some insightful direction to help combat and jump over those hurdles that people are inevitably going through. Because we all went through, we all did.
Yeah.
From athlete to business person, from corporate to entrepreneurship, from the brand side, the team side, there's always going to be challenges and hurdles along the way. How you navigate those and how you stay patient and also stay composed through those really frustrating and difficult times is some of the most important pieces of it. A lot of the people that I talk to are really frustrated, and that emotion sometimes takes over. And this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Working in sports is not just, you don't become a billionaire overnight. And if you don't have a linear path, I always compute to being an accountant or a doctor. At least once you get out of school, you take the CPA and get your CPA, you can go work for an accounting firm or for a company in an accounting department. Same thing as a doctor. You get out of school and you go, what do I want to do? Do I want to work for Nike? Do I want to work for the NBA? Do I want to work at an agency? And so there's a lot to trying to understand, and you're trying to gain experience in real time. So gaining experience is key. and then knowing that you have to be patient along the way to make a lot of money near the end. So it's a journey and it's a long one. And so we're trying to help along that journey because a lot of times the great higher education institutions teach amazing stuff, but the black and white of it is understood, but the gray space is the tough part to really comprehend. So we're trying to really help out through that gray space.
I love that. I love that. For those who are interested in finding more about SBV, where can they go to just kind of follow and sign up and gather that information so they can better their careers and find out where their place is in the industry?
Yeah, so right now, www.sportsbusinessventures.com is our website. Our membership platform will be on there, and a lot of other tools and opportunities for people to help their sports careers. We also have Sports Business Ventures on LinkedIn, so you can just type that in and you'll find us there. We have 30,000 followers in there to date and growing that.
Wow.
And that's our major source of our community because everybody in there is looking to promote, help each other out, and find out about awareness of sports opportunities. And then we're also on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And all under Sports Business Ventures or SBB. So, come check us out, be part of the community. We're going to grow together. We're doing some really cool things. The platform is just launching. We're going to iterate that. And there's a lot of other things that we have to offer to really curate strategies and opportunities to find your dream job in sports.
I love that. I love that. No, I'm excited to tap into SBV myself and be a part of the community and help support as best as I can, because I think it's something incredible and very needed within the community to be able to hear it in its real estate, not twisted, not sugar-coated, but giving you exactly what it is, because I think a lot of people need to hear that for sure. For sure. Here's one thing, and then we're going to get out of here. I always love to ask this question. I've had it several times, and everyone kind of gives their own perspective. But what's that one either quote or kind of lesson that you've learned in your career that truly has empowered you to be who you are today, or empower you to continue to grow?
Yeah, I spoke to it really quickly. Didn't want to give it all away at the beginning, but Michael Jordan's quote of "I'm going to turn my perceived weakness into a strength." And that's really been the story of my life. Whether it's the learning disability or me being looking a certain way, or me coming from a small school, or never being an entrepreneur before, right? And turning that in and turning it into a strength. And so the way that has always centered me and been inspiring to me is to be optimistic and know that I can turn whether it's weakness or an opportunity into something that is one of my best traits. And so, or skill sets. And so, it really speaks to volumes that don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. Don't let anybody tell you that it's impossible. If you don't do it, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. But the people that are willing to put in the effort, put in the blood, sweat, and tears, you'll come out the other end better than you did when you started. So that's always been a quote that I live by. Ever since I heard it, I think I was in middle school when I first heard it.
Yeah. I love that. Brian Davison, I appreciate you being on the Second Half podcast. Thank you for all the insight, the conversation. I think it's truly going to be helpful for those who are trying to figure out their second half of their life. Be sure to, for those listening and tuning in, be sure to check out sportsbusinessventures.com, everything on LinkedIn. So much great information and knowledge that Brian and his team are putting together. So with that being said, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, follow us on all social media platforms. We're out. The Second Half podcast. Peace.